A 2-year-old girl, beaten in public by an adult. On March 19, 2026, a video went viral in China. A woman, holding her own child, punched the 2-year-old to the ground, then slapped her over and over again. The child screamed and cried. The crowd watched. Why? Because the two toddlers were fighting over a toy, and during the struggle, the girl accidentally scratched her child. That was enough. The injuries suffered by the 2-year-old were severe: a fractured finger, a ruptured eardrum, and multiple soft tissue injuries across her body. Police have intervened, but so far, no punishment. Welcome to Red Eastern True Crime. If you want to see more stories like this, please like this video. Let's get into it. Today, we're looking at cases where some Chinese parents believed their child was being bullied, and then turned on other children themselves. They hit them. They hunted them down. In some cases, they killed them. Every attacker in these cases was a parent or a grandparent, and every single one said the same thing: my child was mistreated. From punching a 2-year-old girl to walking into a classroom with a knife. What these adults did was far more brutal than anything they claimed was done to their children. And yet, they all believed they were protecting their kids. Were they? On the afternoon of December 6, 2024, just before class, 4 first graders were playing and roughhousing in the hallway at Gusong Elementary School in Shanghai's Songjiang district. They were pushing each other, laughing. Just kids being kids. A 7-year-old girl named Wang was rushing back to the classroom when she suddenly bumped into the doorframe. Her gums started bleeding. But that evening, Wang's mother posted a message in the class group chat. She claimed her daughter had been held down and beaten by 3 classmates, all the way until the bell rang, and left with a bleeding mouth. That message changed a 6-year-old girl's life forever. One of the families who saw the message had a daughter named Xiang. Xiang's mother believed her daughter might have been one of the children involved. She apologized to the Wang family that same day. The next morning, Xiang's father posted a public apology in the class group chat. The homeroom teacher spoke to the children involved. The apology had been made. The teacher had stepped in. The parents had talked it out. Everything should have ended there. But Wang's 56-year-old grandfather had already gone to the market and bought a cleaver the day before the public apology. On the day of the formal apology, he went to the school gate and confronted Xiang's grandmother, demanding answers. She told him she would pass the message along. He wasn't satisfied. 2 days later, December 11th, at 4:50 p.m., he showed up near the school gate again. This time, with a cleaver in his hand. He found Xiang. He found her grandmother. He argued with the grandmother. Then, he pulled out the cleaver and swung it at 6-year-old Xiang's head. Again and again. Xiang raised her hands to protect herself. The blade came down, cutting into her head, her hands. Her grandmother tried to stop him, and was injured too. Bystanders and school security rushed in, wrestled the cleaver away, and held him there until police arrived. The medical report confirms an open skull fracture with a torn membrane. The total length of scarring on her head alone, 14.5 centimeters. A 6-year-old with a split skull. In 2026, he was convicted of attempted murder and sentenced to life in prison. In court, he claimed he bought the cleaver for cooking. He said he brought it for self-defense. He said he only wanted to teach her a lesson. But later, hallway surveillance footage shown at trial told a very different story. The children had been playing, pulling, pushing, roughhousing with each other. When the bell rang, they rushed back toward the classroom. During the commotion, Wang was pulled. She twisted free. And in that split second, she hit the doorframe. An accident, not a beating. Not 3 children holding her down. That cleaver was built on a lie. His granddaughter's lie. On the afternoon of September 21st, 2018, at Longshan Experimental Elementary School in Ruian, Zhejiang Province, a 4th grade homeroom teacher was at her desk, handing out assignments after class. A man walked into the room. She recognized him. He was the father of one of her students. His name was Lin Jianxia. He was 36 years old. Lin walked up to a 9-year-old boy named Ye, tapped him on the shoulder, and said, "Come with me for a second." The teacher called out to him. He ignored her. He led Ye out of the classroom and into the boys' bathroom on the 3rd floor. No one else was inside. Lin reached into his pocket and pulled out a fruit knife. From behind, he slashed Ye across the throat. When Ye fell, Lin straddled him and kept stabbing into his back again and again, until he was certain the boy would not survive. Then he called 110. He told the operator he had just killed a student at Longshan Elementary School. He walked to the sink outside, washed his hands, went back into the bathroom, lit a cigarette, and sat down next to Ye's body, waiting for the police. Ye died that night. He was 9 years old. It all started 2 days earlier, with a minor classroom incident. On the afternoon of September 19th, during an English class, Ye punched Lin's daughter in the eye during a dispute. The injury was minor, so minor she didn't go to the hospital and was back at school the next day. That same day, the teacher called both children to her office, reprimanded Ye, and had him apologize. She also notified both families. Ye's mother even reached out to Lin's wife, asking if they needed to see a doctor. By any normal measure, it was over, but Lin didn't see it that way. That night, he contacted the teacher through his wife's WeChat, with one demand. Ye had to stand in front of the entire class and apologize publicly. If that didn't happen, he said, other students would feel free to bully his daughter. The teacher believed a public apology would be harmful to Ye's development. She declined, but she did address the class again and reprimand Ye a second time. On September 20th, Lin's daughter told him Ye had not apologized in front of everyone. He made his decision. He would kill Ye. That evening, after dropping his daughter off at a tutoring center, he went looking for a weapon. He went to 3 different stores. The first only had small fruit knives. He left. At the second, he bought a fruit knife, but felt it was too small. At the third, he bought a utility knife. Back home, he compared the knives he had bought with one already in the kitchen. The one from home was sharper. Better for killing, he thought. He chose it, wrapped the blade in cardboard and set it aside. Then he changed his mind. Maybe he could fix this another way. Maybe he would buy apples instead, bring them to school, help his daughter make friends. He put the knife back, threw away the cardboard. That night, he took his daughter out, first to get her hair cut, then to the movies. He had promised her the movie. He felt he had to keep that promise, because if he went through with the killing the next day, he wouldn't be able to. A father, sitting in a movie theater with his daughter, already planning to kill a 9-year-old boy the next morning. On September 21st, Lin woke up in the afternoon and started thinking again. Why should he be the one trying to make peace, he thought, when his daughter was the one who got hurt? Back and forth, again and again, until he made his decision. He took out the knife again, wrapped it in fresh cardboard, and packed the utility knife too, in case one blade wasn't enough. At 4:05 p.m., he left home. At 4:15, he walked into the classroom and took Ye. One line from Lin's confession is hard to forget. He said that while he was stabbing Ye's back over and over, his mind went blank. All he could think about was making sure the boy was dead. He said he thought he heard Ye say, "Mr. Lin, I won't do it again." In March 2019, Lin Jianxia was sentenced to death for murder. On July 17, 2020, the sentence was carried out. At 9 a.m. on May 10, 2019, at 5th Elementary School in Shangrao, Jiangxi Province, a 3rd grade class was in the middle of a lesson. A man burst through the back door. His name was Wang Xiaojian. He was 41 years old, the father of a girl in that class. He walked straight to the last row and found a 10-year-old boy named Liu. He pulled out a butcher's knife and stabbed him more than 10 times, chest, abdomen, back, arms, legs. Liu fell. Wang dragged him out of the classroom and threw him into the hallway. Every child in that room watched it happen. Liu had no pulse when paramedics arrived. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. He was 10 years old. Both of his parents were doctors. On Mother's Day, his mother posted online, "I'm a doctor. I've saved so many lives. I couldn't save yours." Wang didn't run. He sat on the steps outside, knife still in his hand, and waited for the police. So what happened? The afternoon before, May 9th, Wang's daughter came home and told him her seatmate Liu had been bullying her at school. That evening, Wang posted in the class group chat, his tone threatening, calling Liu out by name. Liu's father saw the message. That same night, he added Wang's wife on WeChat and said he wanted to work things out. The homeroom teacher, Ms. Wang, also stepped in. But privately, she told Liu's father that Wang Xiaojian had a bad temper and advised him not to engage directly. She would handle it herself, move the seats, separate the two children. The next morning, the day of the killing, Liu's father had been messaging Wang's wife since 7:50 a.m. He told her that Liu had already apologized to Wang's daughter and that the teacher had agreed to change the seating arrangement. At 8:22 a.m., Wang Xiaojian dropped his daughter at the school gate. He didn't see Liu's parents there. He was furious. His wife called him, told him everything had been handled. Their daughter could go to class. Wang didn't listen. He took his daughter back home. Then he went out and bought a butcher's knife. At 9:12 a.m., he returned to the school. Alone. He went to the teacher's office first. He saw his wife speaking with the homeroom teacher. Still no sign of Liu's parents. He kept moving. He went straight through the back door of the classroom and found the 10-year-old boy. Liu's father later said that before that morning, no one, not the teacher, not the other family, had ever told him his son was bullying anyone. Parents and classmates who knew Liu described him as a little mischievous, but polite and well-mannered. After the killing, a wave of sympathy online flooded in for Wang Xiaojian. Many posts claimed Liu had been bullying his daughter for a long time, that Wang was simply protecting his child. But the official police statement never used the word bullying. It stated only that the two children had a dispute. His wife had already told him. It was handled. The seats were moved. The boy had apologized. Wang went anyway. In November 2019, Wang Xiaojian was convicted of murder and sentenced to death. He said in court he accepted the verdict and would not appeal. In January 2021, the sentence was carried out. 4 cases, 4 attackers, 1 mother, 1 grandfather, 2 fathers. The victims ranged from 2 years old to 10. Looking at all 4 together, the pattern is clear. Every attacker believed their child had been treated unfairly. Every attacker claimed afterward they were protecting their child. But there's something else they had in common. The 2 fathers in these cases had no stable jobs at the time. They weren't at work that day. They didn't have to be anywhere. They had the time and the freedom to walk into a school on a weekday. But look at the details, and what they were actually protecting becomes very different. In the Anhui case, 2 toddlers were playing. One scratched the other. That's what 2-year-olds do. But the mother, holding her own child in her arms, beat another 2-year-old until she suffered a fractured finger and a ruptured eardrum. Her child was in her arms the entire time, watching. Was that protection, or was that a lesson? In the Shanghai case, the apology had already been made. The teacher had already stepped in, but the grandfather had bought the cleaver. Before any of that even happened, his granddaughter had never been beaten. She hit a door frame. What he was protecting wasn't his granddaughter. It was his pride. In the Shangrao case, the problem was already solved. Seats had been changed. An apology had been made. His wife called him and told him everything was fine. He walked into the school, saw her talking to the teacher, and kept walking. He didn't ask a single question. He didn't want a solution. He wanted someone to pay. And Lin Jiansha may be the most chilling of all. He didn't snap. He thought about it. For 2 full days, he bought knives, compared their sharpness, wrapped the blade, put it back, changed his mind, took his daughter to a movie, then chose again. Even in the moment, he decided not to kill in the classroom, because he didn't want to traumatize other children. So he moved the boy to the bathroom instead. That's not loss of control. That's control. It's important to note, the last 3 cases are extreme. In each of them, the attackers escalated to the use of knives, carrying out lethal violence against children. This goes far beyond any ordinary conflict. But if we zoom out, a broader pattern appears, something less extreme, but far more common. In real life, and in news reports across China, it is not uncommon to see cases like this. Parents who believe their child has been treated unfairly, or hasn't received what they consider a sincere enough apology, and then take matters into their own hands. And these incidents most often happen in kindergartens and elementary schools. There are many examples. In November 2022, a father believed his child had been bullied in kindergarten. He went to the other child's home to demand an explanation. During the confrontation, he lost control and slapped the child, knocking him to the ground. The child's grandfather tried to intervene and was pushed down, suffering a fracture. In another case, in Shanghai's Changning district, a parent entered a classroom and slapped a 5th grade student in front of the entire class over a conflict between children. And in May 2024, inside a restaurant, 2 children were playing and got into a scuffle. One father stood up and repeatedly slapped the other child. None of these cases ended in murder, but at their core, they are the same. An adult taking a conflict between children and turning it into violence against a child. Of course, it must be said, there are many parents in China who are rational, measured, and fair. But there is also a group like this, parents who are fiercely protective of their own children, but have no boundaries when it comes to others. Sometimes their own child was the one who started it, but in their eyes, once their child has lost in any way, right and wrong no longer matter. And on a deeper level, this kind of reaction may not just be about the present. Some people grow up in environments where conflict is solved through violence. When similar situations arise again, those unresolved emotions resurface and intensify. Protecting a child becomes the justification. But what's really driving it may be something else: anger, loss of control, or wounds that were never healed. And here's the question: if you believe your child has been wronged, how far would you go? What do you think about these cases? Has anything like this happened where you are? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more cases like this, please like and subscribe.